What's up everyone, Deepcut here with Cartoon Universe. I just got back from my vacation this morning to the amazing news that Steven Universe is finally returning with a new spin-off series in the same world, Lars of the Stars. Now for big fans of Steven Universe, this actually isn't that shocking, as Lars of the Stars was an intended spin-off from the very beginning. Something Rebecca Sugar first discussed all the way back in Season 5 when Lars first turned pink. This was thanks to a death and resurrection because of Steven's tears. And following that, we got an episode actually titled Lars of the Stars that seemed to be an obvious attempt at a backdoor pilot, where you put a pilot for a new show in an existing show using its characters to help promote the idea. Now, years later, this is just one of many shows produced by Cartoon Network that's getting something of a sequel or spin-off series on Amazon Prime. Cartoon Network had already been experimenting with this sort of sequel release on a streaming service with shows like Adventure Time, which has had massive success with its many spin-offs, especially Fiona and Cake, which is also getting a season 2 with Rebecca Sugar writing a song in it. For me personally, I had a theory that this show was coming back very soon because my first ever video created for Cartoon Universe here actually got demonetized recently because Steven Universe is suddenly becoming a hot property to someone behind the scenes. Anytime a show is about to get picked up or bought or sold or renewed or rebooted or spun off, YouTube usually ends up demonetizing some of the existing videos about it because more of its rights are moving around and it's becoming more serious to keep this in a place where they can make money. So far, we've got no actual release date, probably sometime next year at the very earliest, but we do have this cool logo. Originally, I believe the show was meant to follow Lars and his gang of crystal gems as they traveled across space on their way back to Earth between seasons 4 and 5 of Steven Universe. However, even in Steven Universe Future, which takes place sometime after Lars has returned to Earth, he still hangs out with his crystal gem crew, and I could see the series being more about him exploring space now as a sequel instead of some limited story that has to take place within the original show. Now when it comes to the show itself, it of course will star not just Lars, but also the other gems that were traveling with him on his spaceship. This includes the character Rhodonite, a fusion of a ruby and a pearl, who's nervous and anxious and constantly worried about everything going on. Then there's the Rutile twins, who aren't actually a fusion, but just conjoined twin gems who speak in unison. Then there's everyone's favorite gem, I would say, Padparasha, which is supposed to be a defective sapphire of a different color who actually sees things after they happen instead of before like the other sapphires. Finally, there's everyone's favorite grandma, Fluorite, a massive caterpillar-like fusion of 6 or even more gems. Fusions in the show, of course, are meant to represent different things, and as a giant group fusion, to some degree, this was meant to represent a family, a group of people who came together, and thus she is represented as something of a grandma-like figure to the rest of the crew. When this group first appeared, I really liked them as side characters in Steven Universe, but wasn't particularly excited to see them expanded upon in their own show. They all have the potential for drama, don't get me wrong, but the simplicity of their characters, even if much different than the crystal gems on Earth, made them seem like they were entirely funny instead of having a more serious purpose. In the original Steven Universe, Steven himself was kind of the funny guy who was constantly messing up and being taken care of by the more serious Garnet, Pearl, and even Amethyst. But with Lars of the Stars, we get something a bit different. Lars is the outsider, but he's also immortal and something of a hero. Until meeting Lars, these other gems, who are known as the Off-Colors, were hiding from the Crystal Gem Empire, because if they were found to be defective, they would have been shattered. In the New World, gems all live in peace, and off-colors are able to live as they please. But after thousands of years of living underground in fear of other gems, it seems likely that they will continue to be very anxious and scared of the world around them, relying on Lars to do the heavy lifting and to guide them somewhere safe. With us already having Steven Universe Future, another Steven Universe focused plotline might not have been in the interest of the creators. But me personally, I would have loved it more if they decided to go back in time and give us something like the Rose Quartz Chronicles. And the world's so rich, there's so many different things you could do with it. But hopefully this first spin-off of Lars of the Stars is just the beginning. Like Adventure Time, there could be a lot of spin-offs of Steven Universe, all with their own limited series. And maybe Lars of the Stars is just the first step towards that. Or maybe like Steven Universe, it'll be a giant 5-season or more story that gets us into the history of the crystal gems and reveals something entirely new about them. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you want to see my cringy first ever Cartoon Universe video, check it out here. Or if you want to see some of the openings I made for potential spin-off seasons such as the Rose Quartz Chronicles, check that out here. See you guys next time.
We are the crystal. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. ma ma